The sky above Kelron was dark, not because of clouds, but because of smoke. Fires burned in the distant towns. The people of the planet had sent their final distress signal 3 days ago. No one had answered. Not from the Galactic Council. Not from nearby colonies, and not even from their allies. Inside a small command post, Governor Lyrac stared at the empty screen. His hands trembled slightly. Beside him stood his daughter, a young engineer named Sayla. She looked tired but calm. "No." "Response?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "None." "It seems we're not important enough." Sayla glanced at the map of the planet. Red dots showed where the raiders had attacked. Blue lights, once the locations of Kelron's defense units, had all gone dark. "The Skarn will come again tonight," she said. "Yes," Lyrac whispered. "And this time, I don't think we'll survive." The Skarn were not part of any council. They were pirates, conquerors, and killers. They moved from planet to planet, taking what they wanted and leaving. Ruins behind. Kelron was a small world rich in resources, but poor in weapons. They never expected an attack. And when it came, no one came to help. But far away, on the other side of the galaxy, the signal reached a forgotten satellite. It was human-made, old, and nearly useless. But it still worked enough to catch the message. From there, it was picked. Up by an Earth station, a man named Devon, a retired commander from Earth's military, was checking data logs when the alert came in. He opened the file, watched the short video of the Kelron governor begging for help, and sat still for a long time. He called a few friends, people like him, veterans, people who had seen war, who had grown tired of waiting for orders that never came. They met in a hangar far from the cities. They didn't wear uniforms anymore, but they still moved like soldiers. "We have no orders," said one man. "No support," added a woman. Devon looked at them. "We don't need orders to do what's right. We're trained to protect the weak." "That hasn't changed." There was silence. Then heads began to nod. Slowly, they walked to an old warship at the Arcwind. It had been sitting in storage for years, outdated and ignored. But its weapons still worked, and so did its engines. Within 2 days, they were ready. Earth didn't stop them. Maybe Earth didn't even know what they were doing, but it didn't matter. They left a small crew on an old ship, heading for a world most had never heard of. Back on Kelron, hope was gone. People had started digging shelters underground. Families huddled together, not speaking. Everyone waited for the sky to turn red again with fire. Then the sky turned white. A strange rumble shook the air. People ran outside and looked up. Clouds twisted as something pushed through the upper atmosphere. It wasn't Skarn. Council ships. It was something else. The warship Arcwind broke through the clouds like thunder. It wasn't fancy. It didn't shine. But it was strong and steady. The ship landed outside the main city. Dust and wind flew in all directions. Soldiers stepped out, humans in armor, with serious eyes and quiet movements. They carried old weapons and heavy gear. Governor Lyrac met them with disbelief. "Who are you?" he asked. Devon stepped forward. "We're from Earth. We heard your call." "Why would Earth help us?" Sayla asked. Devon looked at the burning horizon, because no one else did. They didn't make speeches. They didn't ask for rewards. They got to work. Some helped fix broken machines. Others walked the city walls and studied the terrain. Within hours, they had plans. Traps were set. Civilians were moved to safer zones. Every human knew what to do. They had done it before, many times. That night, Skarn came again. But they were not ready for what waited. And for the first time, in many nights, the people of Kelron did not feel alone. Night had fallen over Kelron. The stars above looked peaceful, but everyone on the ground knew danger was coming. The Skarn raiders always attacked in the dark. They moved like shadows, striking fast and without mercy. This time, though, the humans were ready. Commander Devon stood on the wall, watching the horizon. Beside him was Sayla, holding a small scanner. Behind them, a few human soldiers checked their gear. They wore older armor, patched and scratched, but every piece had a story. Every one of them had been through real battles. "You really think your team can stop the Skarn?" Sayla asked, her voice low. Devon didn't smile. Not alone. But we didn't come to fight alone. We came to fight with you. She nodded slowly. She didn't fully understand the humans, but she could see something different in their eyes, calm, sharp, and unshaken, out in the darkness. The first sounds came: screeching engines, grinding metal, and then flashing lights. The scarring ships flew low, their black hulls glowing with heat. They fired at the outer defenses, just like before. But this time, hidden cannons fired back. Human traps lit up across the field: laser mines, energy nets, and fake targets. One Scarn fighter exploded in midair. Another slammed into a false beacon and spun out of control. For a moment, the Scarn paused. They hadn't expected resistance. On the ground, Scarn warriors charged in, but the humans didn't meet them head-on. They used cover, moved in teams, and struck from angles the Scarn didn't see coming. Ron fighters, guided by the humans, held their lines. They wore mixed armor and looked unsure at first, but they followed the humans' commands with growing confidence. In the middle of the battle, Devon moved like he had done it all his life. He pointed to a broken tower. "Sniper there," he yelled, and one of his soldiers climbed fast. Taking aim, a group of Scarn tried to break through the left gate, but a human woman named Morgan was waiting with 3 others. They used stun, grenades, and pulse rifles. In seconds, the raiders were down. The battle lasted over an hour. When it ended, smoke filled the air, but Kelron still stood. The Scarn retreated. It wasn't a full defeat, but it was the first time they had been forced to pull back. The people of Kelron came out of their shelters slowly, unsure what had just happened. Governor Lyrak walked through the streets and saw the human soldiers helping the wounded, fixing machines, and guarding the edges of the city. "You saved us," he whispered to Devon. "We bought you time," Devon replied. "They'll come back. Next time, with more." Lyrak looked around. "Then we need to be ready." And that's how it began. For the first time in their history, the people of Kelron started to prepare like a real army. The humans didn't just fight, they taught, each day. The warriors trained the locals, showed them how to hold weapons properly, how to move in groups, how to set traps, and how to stay calm under pressure. Sayla learned fast. So did many others. The fear in their eyes slowly turned to focus. The humans fixed old machines, reinforced walls, and even shared their own armor and gear. They didn't have much, but what they had they gave. Stories spread through the villages. People whispered about the strange warriors from Earth, how they never showed fear, how they fought like they had nothing to lose, how they refused to leave anyone behind. Kids followed them, watching every move. The humans didn't speak much about their pasts, but it was clear they had seen too much war. Still, they fought not because they had to, but because it was right. One evening, Sayla found Devon sitting alone near the training field. "Why did you come?" she asked him. He looked up at the stars. "'Cause no one else did. But you didn't even know us." Devon looked at her and said, "When someone calls for help, you don't wait to know them. You just go." Sayla didn't know what to say. She simply sat beside him, watching the stars. Far above, a small galactic scout ship flew past Kelron. Inside it, a council observer watched the planet closely. He had seen the battle. He had recorded everything. Now he sent a report back. To the council, his message was short. "Earth's warriors have arrived. They are few, but they are changing everything." Days passed. Kelron was no longer quiet. The city echoed with training drills, hammering sounds and shouts of orders. Human soldiers worked side by side with Kelron fighters. Young and old citizens watched from rooftops, some afraid, others amazed. The change was real. Commander Devon stood at the center of a training field. Sweat dripped from his face as he guided Kelron soldiers through combat drills. Again, he shouted. He moved together, always together. The Kelron fighters moved in pairs, just like the humans had taught them. Behind them, Morgan checked weapons, repairing parts and showing others how to reload. Nearby, Sayla taught children how to use hand radios and scanners. Governor Lyrak watched the scene from a balcony above. His world had begun to shift. A month ago, Kelran had no soldiers. Now, thanks to the humans, they had hope and growing strength. But that hope was tested again. In the far deserts of Kelran, small settlements were burned down by Skarn scouts. The attacks were fast and brutal. When the news reached the city, Devon and his team studied the map and predicted the next target. "They're circling," Morgan said. "They're not just attacking, they're studying us, looking for weak spots," Devon added. "We can't let them choose the next move." So they decided to move first. With help from Sayla, they built portable shield towers using old mining equipment. They turned farm tools into defenses and transformed an abandoned rail line into a supply route. For the first time, Kelran took control of its future. Meanwhile, far above in the stars, the Galactic Council argued. "Earth has sent warriors without permission," said one council member. "Only a few," said another, "but they're changing the situation. They're teaching the Kelran people to fight back, and if other planets start calling Earth instead of us?" The room grew tense. "What do you suggest?" asked the elder. "We observe, we wait, and we prepare." The decision was made in silence. But eyes across the galaxy were now fixed. On Kel-Ron. Back on the planet, Devon met with Governor Lyrak late at night. "The next attack won't be small," Devon said. "The Skarn are building up. They want to crush your will," Lyrak sighed. "We're stronger now, thanks to you." Devon shook his head. "No, thanks to your people. We just showed you what you already had." Just then, a message came through one of the forward scouts spotted a massive fleet moving from orbit. Dozens of ships. Not scouts. Not raiders. The main Skarn force. Kelran had a day. Maybe two at the city became a storm of motion. Everyone had a job. Children helped carry supplies. Elders cooked meals for fighters. Walls were reinforced. Weapons were checked twice. Devon called his team for one last meeting. "This isn't just another fight," he said. "This is everything. If we hold them here, we give this world a future." "We'll hold," Morgan said simply. "They've never fought a planet that fights back," another soldier added, as the sun rose the next. Morning, the people of Kelran stood ready. Humans stood with them, shoulder to shoulder. The city was quiet, not from fear, but from focus. Then the sky broke open. Dark ships covered the horizon, their engines roaring like thunder. Skarn dropships fell like hammers. Hundreds of raiders poured out, shouting in their harsh voices. But they didn't find a weak city. They found traps, deep trenches, energy barriers, and towers firing beams of light. Human fighters moved quickly, guiding Kelran defenders, calling targets, and holding the lines. Sayla ran from one post to another, repairing circuits under fire. Morgan stayed near the north gate, taking out raiders one by one. Devon was everywhere, giving orders, fighting, leading, and the people of Kelran. They did not run, they fought. The battle lasted the entire day and pushed into the night. Skarn forces pushed hard, breaking through parts of the wall. But each time, Kelran fighters pushed them back. On a rooftop, two young Kelran scouts looked through binoculars. "They're pulling back." One shouted, "We're winning." It was true. The Skarn, shocked by the strength of resistance, began to retreat. By sunrise, the field was quiet. The Skarn were gone, at least for now. Inside the city, people cried, cheered, and hugged. They had survived. They had fought as one. Governor Lyrak walked into the square and saw his people celebrating. He looked up at the Earth warriors standing near their ship, still quiet, still calm. He walked to Devon and said, "You didn't just save us. You gave us a way to save ourselves." Devon nodded. "That's what Earth does, but far beyond." The Galactic Council had seen everything, and not all of them were happy. The ruins outside Kelran City still smoked. Broken Skarn ships lay scattered across the fields. Fires were put out and the wounded were being treated. The sky was finally quiet, but no one believed it would last. Deep underground, Devon and Governor Lyrak met with Kelran's top engineers and human tacticians. A giant map lit the center of the room. "We pushed them back," Lyrak said. "But they will come again." "Yes," Devon replied. "And next time, they'll come with everything they have." Sayla tapped a control screen. "We've repaired 2 of the shield towers. We're working on building a 3rd, but we're short on power cores." "Then we hold with what we have," Devon said. "If they want this planet, they'll have to earn every inch." On the far edge of Kelron's orbit, the Skarn flagship arrived. It was massive, 10 times the size of a human battleship. Inside it stood their warlord, Threx. His face was marked by old scars, and his voice growled like thunder. "This planet fights harder than expected," Threx said. "They are led by humans." His officers looked confused. "Only a handful, my lord," Threx said with narrowed eyes. "But they changed everything." He turned to a large star map. "Send the signal. Call the whole fleet. We'll end this in one strike." Back on Kelron, Devon's team knew something was coming. Sky had been quiet for too long. Morgan stood on the city wall, watching the stars. "You ever wonder why the council didn't come?" she asked. Devon joined her. "They probably thought Kelron wasn't worth it. And now they're watching." When Devon was right, in the heart of the Galactic Council, members watched live feeds from secret satellites. The images showed humans training alien civilians, leading defenses, building unity. Something the council never expected. "This is dangerous," said one elder. "Earth is gaining influence." Without speaking a word, said another. The council didn't argue. They knew one thing: Earth's warriors had lit a fire. That fire was spreading. On Kelron, the humans finished their final preparations. Trenches were deeper. Weapons were placed. Medical tents stood ready. The people had changed. They know. Longer waited for help. They became the help then. The sky darkened again. But this time, it was different. Dozens of Skarn ships appeared above the planet. Not fast strikes. Not small squads. This was a full invasion. Alarms rang through the city. Civilians rushed into bunkers. Fighters grabbed their weapons. Devon, Morgan, Sayla, and the others ran to command stations. The Skarn fired first. Beams of energy tore through the upper sky. Explosions lit the horizon. Defense towers returned fire. Shields flared to life. The humans had prepared, but even they were surprised by the size of the fleet. Drops landed beyond the city. Skarn warriors poured out, thousands of them, marching toward the walls. "They're trying to break us in one attack," Devon said. "We won't let them." The ground shook as the first wave hit. On the front line, Kelron fighters held their positions. Human soldiers moved like wind fast, smart, and fearless. They gave commands, helped the injured, and kept morale high. Morgan led a strike team to cut off Skarn supply lines. Sayla stayed in the power station, managing the energy grid and directing power to where it was needed most. Hours passed. Smoke covered the field. But still, Kelron stood. But then the Skarn launched a second wave, faster and stronger. They broke through the outer defense wall. Some reached the center of the city. Explosions echoed. People screamed. "They're inside," someone shouted over the radio. Devon grabbed his rifle. "Fall back to Sector 9. Defend the heart." The battle moved into the streets. House to house. Alley to alley, but even there, humans didn't lose hope. Morgan's team returned from the outer fields and flanked the Skarn attackers. Sayla overloaded the old mining generators, sending a blast of energy through the main street, disabling enemy tech. Devon found himself face to face with a Skarn captain. The fight was quick and brutal. Devon won. By the time the sun rose, the city was in ruins, but the people still stood. The last of the Skarn ships pulled back. The great warlord Threx watched in disbelief. He had never lost a full-force assault before, not until now. "This planet is cursed," he growled. "No," said one of his officers. "This planet has humans." As the Skarn fled, the people of Kelron gathered in the center of the city. Tired, bruised, and bleeding, but alive. Governor Lyrak stood before them. "We have faced the worst storm, and we are still here. Not because someone saved us, but because we chose to fight together. Behind him, the human warrior stood, silent and far beyond. Dozens of planets watched the footage. Earth hadn't sent diplomats. Earth hadn't given speeches. They had simply answered the call. The smoke had cleared. Broken weapons and shattered armor lay across the battlefield.
Ow.
The ground was stained with the cost of survival, but Kelron still stood. Its people were tired, but they were no longer afraid. The great invasion had failed. The Skarn fleet had vanished into space, beaten and silent. Threx, their warlord, had not spoken since retreating. His pride was crushed, his army humiliated. In Kelron's main square, the people gathered. Old banners were replaced with new ones, symbols of unity, not fear. Families came out from underground shelters. Children ran through the streets, laughing for the first time in weeks. Governor Larocque stood before the crowd. His voice was hoarse, but strong. "We thought we were alone," he said. "We thought no one would come. But someone did. And they didn't just fight for us. They fought with us." He turned to the human warriors standing nearby, Devin Morgan, and the rest remained quiet. They didn't smile or wave. They didn't need thanks. They had come for one reason, because help was needed. Sayla stepped forward. She held a broken Skarn helmet in her hands. "These people gave us more than weapons," she said. "They gave us belief. Now we believe in ourselves." The crowd cheered, but Devin raised his hand gently. "This victory is yours," he said. "We showed you a few things, but you did the hard part. You chose to stand." Morgan added, "We were just the spark. You are the fire now." Days later, repairs began. Homes were rebuilt, fields were cleared, machines were fixed. Across the galaxy, a message spread. Kelron had survived not because of the Galactic Council, but because Earth had answered. On a distant council world, leaders watched recordings of the battles. News feeds showed Kelron citizens wearing armor crafted from both human and local parts. They stood tall, proud, and free. "This is dangerous," said one council member. "Earth is becoming something more, a symbol," another replied. "Not of power, but of purpose." One older council member stood and said, "Perhaps it's time we asked ourselves, why didn't we go, and why did they?" Silence filled the room. On Kelron, Devin sat on a rooftop with Sayla. The night sky sparkled above them. "What will you do now?" Sayla asked. "We'll head back," Devin said. "Earth is calling us again. Will you return one day?" Devin nodded. "If you ever call again, we'll come." She smiled. "Oh, we won't need to. But it's good to know you're out there." The next morning, the old warship Arcwind lifted off. The people of Kelron stood along the landing fields, waving as the engines roared to life. Children held drawings of the human warriors. Some saluted, others cried. The ship disappeared into the sky, leaving behind a world that had changed forever. Weeks passed, and months, and something unexpected happened. New messages began to reach Earth, small planets, forgotten colonies, distant. Moons all asking the same question: will Earth help us too? Earth didn't reply with words, it replied with actions. One by one, small human ships began arriving on struggling worlds. Not to rule, not to conquer, but to help. They brought tools, training, and strength. They listened, they worked. When needed, they fought. The galaxy slowly realized something powerful. Earth didn't care about titles or politics. Earth cared about people. They didn't wait for permission. They just answered the call back on Kelron. A statue was built in the central square. It wasn't a statue of a hero or a human. It was a sculpture of two hands, one from Kelron, one from Earth, gripping each other in unity. Etched below were the words, "They thought no one would come until Earth's warriors answered the call." And that story became legend, not just of how a planet was saved, but how a few brave humans reminded the galaxy what it meant to care.